I saw Happy Feet.
Ah.
Well, that's a good note to
Dancing
start on.
Madness. And on that note, welcome everybody to Geek News Reviews and Opinions for May 14th, Saturday night, 2016. I am, of course, your host, Adam Mickelson, aka Drek. I hope everybody has had a wonderful week. In fact, it has been a very busy week for me. Me and one of our panelists actually got together to do Civil War, and then I had appointments. It's like the stars aligned, and everything that I set up like 6 months in advance all came together in that 1 week, and nobody told me, and now I feel like a dunce. But that's the way it goes. I hope everybody else had at least a nice summer week where you guys could enjoy some Civil War, you could enjoy the games that you were playing, because, wow, 3 games came out this week, which already sent my schedule just down the toilet. But I'm not the only one here. Thankfully, I am joined by my panel of fellow YouTube content creators, of fellow critics, and fellow overall geeky and wonderful guys. And let's go ahead and start off with Aldo Gomez of Board Offline of Reviews versus the World. What is the paper that you're working for? SLC Nerd? Is that right?
Yep.
How are you doing this fine night, Aldo?
I was doing fine until you just reminded me that I have to write 2 papers for the SLC Nerd, and I have not.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to remind you of work.
That's my bad. No, I'm doing pretty good. Just jumped back on The Witcher since they have given an official date for the last expansion of it.
Oh, yeah. Blood and Wine?
Blood and Wine, yes.
Yeah, I saw your comment just like, Geralt, never change.
No, it wasn't that.
I can't remember the exact wording for it. It was something about Geralt.
It was Geralt. For being a Witcher, you take a hit like a punk.
Oh yeah, that's right. Or you take a. What was it?
I'm supposed to
was
believe.
Was it like a punk? Was it like a punk?
Yeah, like a punk.
Okay,
I'm supposed to believe that the White Wolf of Rivia, protagonist of 2 60-plus-hour games, is defeated by wolves. No.
This is kind of hard. This is kind of a stretch, people. All right, well, welcome, Aldo, and we are also being joined by the Shadow Blazer himself, Alex Short. How are you doing this fine evening? Oh, look, it's not Homura this time. It's Mio.
It's Mio-chan. Yes, I'm doing well. Had a productive week, given I saw Civil War with you, and then we did a recording session. So, all in all, pretty good week.
But busy, nonetheless.
Yep, pretty busy.
And we actually are we are looking forward to the summer months where my office will turn to 100 degrees and we'll be dying while we record. Because that's how it goes.
We suffer for our art.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you had that video.
And these 2 yahoos are eventually going to start suffering for their art because they're going to be doing stuff with me.
I mean, if we don't already.
Yeah.
Didn't you already? Didn't you put up a video this week about Shirobako?
Yeah, I put up my review for Shirobako this week.
That was awesome. I dug it. I like that show. It's a good show.
Very good show.
Okay, and also we are being joined by Stephen Romney of Romney's Reviews from the Shelf, Studio Ghost, Utah. How are you doing this fine night, Romney?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. I mean, finally got finished with training at my new job, so I'm finally starting to get settled in, getting used to my new schedule. It's only part-time, which gives me a little bit more time during the day. Yeah, it means less pay, but it also means I have a little bit more time to work on the stuff I want to work on while pursuing the eventual dreams.
So I'm a little confused of your little tag here, not going to waste my shot.
Well, you see, I'm just going to read the first. Basically, it's part of a long thing, but here's just the initial opening line from what has been my obsession for the past few days. How does a bastard, orphan, son of a whore, and a Scotsman drop in the middle of forgotten spot in the Caribbean by Providence, impoverished and squalor, grow up to be a hero and a scholar? The $10 founding father, without a father, got a lot farther by working a lot harder, by being a lot smarter, by being a self-starter. By 14, they placed him in charge of a trading charter. And that's as far as I can get because I am not good at rapping. For those of you who are wondering, I have been listening to Hamilton for like the past couple of weeks or so.
I thought that was Eminem.
See, you started off with "I'm a bastard," and immediately the first thing that came to my mind was, "Are you gonna rap about Jon Snow?"
No, it's
about
about
be the
somebody.
first one.
No, it's about somebody much more amazing. The first Secretary of the Treasury of the United States, Alexander Hamilton. I've been listening to the musical by Lin-Manuel Miranda. I got it from my mom on Mother's Day, and I've had so many songs from that musical stuck in my head nonstop. I'm really looking forward to when they go on tour and eventually stop in Utah because I want to see it.
And for the record, Game of Thrones fans, he was the one that said it. Send your hate mail to him, because otherwise I'm just going to toss it in the garbage.
And I apologize if my rapping's not that good. I'm not as skilled as Lin-Manuel Miranda or the person who plays Aaron Burr, but yeah, that's pretty much been my obsession for most of the week, has been Hamilton.
All right. Well, and we also do have some stories to get to this week, so let's go ahead and get right to it. And the first one is obviously Nintendo Talk, and holy crap, we have a lot to go over again. So, Pokemon Sun and Moon. Lots of details were announced. We have a release date. We have box art. We have starters, but not Final Evolutions. A lot of people are asking if I was able to find images of Final Evolutions. I was not. To my knowledge, they aren't available. And I also love the people that sent messages to us, listeners of the podcast, going, "You were right, because this is definitely going to be at E3." And so we'll also get into that too, because Aldo was not here when we talked about the details of the E3 plans, and I have a feeling that Pokemon Sun and Moon just became a game changer in that.
I really don't think it is. I think Nintendo tends to stick by its word.
That's what I'm afraid of, but we'll see. So first of all, the release date for Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon will release on November 18th, 2016. So one of the main things that I actually think it should be at E3, but I kind of agree with you, although it won't because Nintendo's stubborn. But it probably should because it is a holiday title. And also a lot of people want to know, like, what new unique feature is this game going to have, because as a listener pointed out, well, last game had you being able to pet your own Pokemon. So what is this one going to be able to do? And I can't answer that, people. I don't know what they could do to innovate. From what I can tell, and maybe although you and I are in agreement, but the trailers and or at least the images that I was able to find look very much like they are still in the Gen 6 Alpha Sapphire Omega Ruby engine. Yeah. So at that point, I mean, you were talking about how there's more caves in this one. I can't confirm that because I haven't played Gen 6 yet.
No, I haven't. No, the only thing I've said was that don't. So a lot of people have. When the trailer came out, I saw a lot of comments of people going like, "Oh my God, this game looks amazing! The graphics look amazing!" And I don't know. Maybe I'm blind. Maybe I've just been playing The Witcher too much. But when I saw the graphics, I was like, "This is the exact same graphics we've had for like the last two games." I don't really
dare say it's because, well, you and I have a trained eye. We know when we're looking at the exact same game engine. And so it's just like, no, this is not as innovative as you're making it out to be.
Somebody else pointed out that they have more dynamic angles, and I was like, probably, but that doesn't mean it looks any better.
Different angles doesn't really change that concept, because in a lot of those cases, I haven't played Gen 6, but Gen 6 still runs off of kind of a fixed camera angle deal when it comes to like dungeons and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So at that point, it's not as innovative as they're making it out to be.
I think the biggest innovation that people are looking at, a lot of people are speculating, is some sort of, and I'm probably going to throw up a little bit in my mouth as I say this, but some sort of a trainer Pokemon fusion thing.
Yeah, I heard about that too.
Because Ash does it in the TV show with Greninja. I should probably rephrase that. Ash and Greninja fuse. Yeah.
Well, and a lot of comments are actually saying that's the only way to be able to, quote, top Mega Evolutions, and I don't know how I feel about that.
Didn't they already introduce that with that manga Reburst?
Yeah, but this is like the closest it's gotten to like mainstream games, because the manga, well, I mean not the manga, because the anime is like the closest thing to the mainstream games as far as terms of popularity. Because Reburst did do that, and Reburst did it kind of cool. A lot better than Ash Greninja, but that's mostly because Ash is an idiot, and I hate him.
Well, I mean,
you refuse to grow up.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a lot like that film, The Tin Drum, where the kid just chooses not to grow up, and I just put a very disturbing picture in my head.
So also this place is going to be, the new region is being called Alola, or as I'm calling it, the Bob region, or the Aloha region, because, well, it's heavily inspired by Hawaii, and I can say Aloha better than Alola.
Nope. You don't get to choose. It's Alola. It's in English.
But I can't say it the way they want it.
Say it. Then
It's named Alola.
That's why I said
It's a new region.
That's why I'm saying it's the Bob region, because that's just the best way for me to be able to do it.
You can't do the Bob region. It's not a hard word to say.
I do Bob for everything. Sorry, I'm trying not to yell because I created problems. So
I'm not having any of it. You say it or you don't.
So, given regards to the new region, a listener actually did reach out and asked our speculation on whether or not, if it's based on Hawaii, which would mean it's like an island area, could we possibly look at travel being mostly between islands, and maybe one of the first HMs that you would acquire would be Surf? To which my answer is, I don't know. Because here's the thing, if it's based on Hawaii, then there's at least a couple of big islands, which means you could have at least 2 or 3 gyms on like a mainland. So I don't know how plausible that is. Maybe
if Surf isn't like immediately out the gate, it's kind of unusual, but who knows? Then I'd say there's probably going to be like boat transports, like the Aqua, basically.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was about to chime in, because it could follow kind of the RPG conventions of, oh, there's the more inconvenient way to travel between islands that you have to go through for the first little bit, but then once you get Surf, suddenly every travel becomes easier. But then by that point, you also might have a Pokemon that does Fly, which also makes it as convenient.
Yeah, and I would assume, like, if they did Surf early, then Fly would come way, way, way later. So I don't know necessarily if that's going to be the case. So with the area, we also have the new cover, or the new game covers. Let me bring this up really quick so you guys can appreciate it. Here is what we have. So Sun is a lion. I'm guessing these are the trademark legendaries for the games, as Gen 6 did. We have a lion, and then we have a bat. I don't think we've gotten their names yet, but already people are starting to speculate, okay, you know, what are the types going to be for these things? And are they going to be as powerful or less powerful than previous legendaries on the map? I personally don't care because they're legendaries. So people's thoughts on the lion... I actually have a thought on the lion, but that's just because I want to make a Leomon joke. And,
I was going to say Jesus Parable.
Yeah.
Well, Leomon works for that one too, now doesn't he?
Yeah, and there's probably somebody making a joke about the Thousand Sunny.
Eh.
Oh god, one of my favorite jokes was just like, I think it was a picture of Noivern with a Luna stone on its head, and they were like, yes, because it just kind of looks like somebody took a Luna stone and put it on top of the head of a Noivern.
It could have been worse. I had somebody on my Facebook who saw the bat version and went, "I'm sorry, that's not a proper bat. It's not sad like Sad Fleck."
No, it's just the Keaton version. That's all.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's the exact reasoning there.
Pretty fond of the bat thing. It looks really cool. I think I'm gonna go with Moon.
The bat looks interesting. I'll probably go lion, but this is gonna be like when I actually catch up because I still have like Gen 4 and Gen 5 to play.
You're not lying to me, are you? There.
What? I'm behind? No. I wish I was lying to you, but no. Because then now I lose like minus 20 points to my Geek cred because I'm like 4 gens behind Pokemon.
And the pun flew over his head like the bat over the moon.
Not entirely. I played with it too. So at that point, let's go ahead and get into the starters because people already want to know what we think. And I'm just going to go ahead and kick this off before people send me the hate mail. I don't like any of them, and the main reason I don't like them is mainly because I usually...
You're a Gen 1er.
Yes, I'm a Gen 1 Puritan. That's exactly it, Alex. You read my mind. No, actually, my wife put it best. She's like, you're not going to like these starters. I'm like, why do you think I'm not going to like them? Because you don't know what the final evolution is. I'm like, that's exactly right. Because that's usually what I judge them on. So, yeah, they look cutesy. I have no idea who I would pick if given the opportunity right now. So that's my opinion on it. So for people who don't know what we have a grass owl, roughly, and then we have a fiery cat.
Do you want to actually bring these up so people actually can tell you know what you're talking about?
I have the video, but give me a second and I can bring up the images. No, I refuse to do that because you didn't say please, Alex.
Yeah, so we've basically got a seed-shaped owl, the fire kitty, and a circus seal. That's basically what we've got here.
And I'm sorry, but the cat, like, if you think about it, he looks like he's very disinterested in being a starter for this generation.
Basically like most cats.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't like that.
I'm a cat. I'm better than you. So these are the starters. We have a grassy owl, we have the seal, and we also have this cat who is just very disinterested in everything about this.
And the best part is they have names. Rowlet is the owl, Lighten is the cat, and Popolo is the water.
I thought it was Litten, like kitten.
Congratulations. What's their moveset?
We don't know yet.
Ember.
I don't care then.
Ember,
also another really... Yeah, actually, I think there have been some move sets revealed. I'll have to look into it in a second. But another interesting aspect, I think, is for the first time since like Gen 1, we've had a base starter, and I'm talking at the base. I know once they hit their final forms, they tend to get dual typing, but for a base type, we have a split dual typing here. We have Grass Flying with our Rowlet.
Yeah.
No, they had split type. Oh no, wait, that was their final evolution. Never mind.
Yeah, final evolution will have the split types. Yeah. But I love the fact that I actually had an argument with Alex for most of our recording session because he was like, "No, they're all base type. They don't have a second one." And then I was able to confirm.
No, yes. I didnn't say they were all base.
I
did not. Don't put words in my mouth. I said others were crap. I did not say that.
Children.
Go to your corners. Go to your corners.
Bulbasaur was not base typing.
Sorry, what?
Bulbasaur was not base typing. He was grass poison.
Yeah, that's what I said. Okay. For the first time since like Gen 1, we have a dual type.
Dual type. We have a dual type.
Dual type as a base starter, and that's again base starter. I'm not counting the evolutions where they do tend to branch
evolutions
out.
Will. If I were to take a wild guess, and I agree with a lot of the theories here, given the appearance of the cat, it's probably going to be Fire Dark.
Dark. Probably. I like one. There's another popular speculation where the cat might actually go Fire Poison because the symbol on his head looks vaguely like the chemical symbol for sulfur, and his Pokedex description describes like oily skin. So that would be a really interesting dual type. Others have speculated the water type will maybe go split fairy, but obviously speculation all at this point.
Yeah, I've seen water fairy, I've seen water ice, which I think would be the first time that's happened, wouldn't it? No, never mind, because Piplup probably went water ice.
Piplup? Let me see.
Or I'm talking when he went down the fire or the final evolution route because it was like an Emperor Penguin.
Oh no, the Emperor Penguin one is steel type, water steel.
Oh really? Okay, so that was an interesting take. Aldo, you were going to ask me a question?
I don't know. Probably. I got really caught up with you guys fighting.
We can continue. Because I still maintain that Adam is misquoting me, misconstruing me. I did not say they were all base types. That they were all monotypes, I should say. That the owl was dual type and the others were single typed.
Well, I'll double check with Andrea on that one because I know that she was right there and she'll know whether or not that's accurate.
Yeah, save it for the flagpole, gentlemen. Save it for the flagpole.
I know, right? Save it for after school.
Me, after school, flagpole, 3 o'clock.
So, yeah, I think, unfortunately, like, a lot of people were wondering if we were going to be excited or not. I can't make that call yet because I want to see what those final evolutions are going to look like. It doesn't really sound to me like any of these are really poking out to any of you guys either.
Oh, actually, no, dude.
I picked my starter. I'm going to go... Mostly based on what I've played already, between X and now, I'm going to go with the water type.
Oh.
Okay. And then, Aldo, you said you had your pick?
Yeah, Rowlet, because he has a bow tie with a leaf. The coolest looking of them. So here's my problems. Litten looks like he was drawn by a 5-year-old. and this field looks like a DreamWorks reject.
Oh wait, maybe we did have starters. Hold on, I just barely saw this in Google Images. I don't know if this is accurate or fan art. Let me just put it up just in case people are interested.
No, it's fan art.
It's fan art. Okay,
Fan
that's what I
art.
was afraid of because it looked too detailed for that. So at that point, I believe we covered all of the details for Pokemon. I mean, aside from the E3 thing, which I think we're all pretty much kind of in agreement, it should happen. It should be there. It should be advertised. But I don't think Nintendo will. I think Nintendo.
Well, a lot of Nintendo should be there, be advertised. I can't honestly recall any Pokemon at E3.
Gen 6 made it.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was there watching it.
Wait, which Gen 3? You can't do 6. You can't just say Gen 6 because there were 2 games in Gen 6.
X and Y, when it got advertised. Because I remember watching the Nintendo Direct, and the biggest feature of it was, you can pet your Pokemon! And everybody was like, oh my gosh, you can pet your Pokemon!
Well, Nintendo Direct is its own thing, isn't it?
Yes, but since that's basically, like...
Yeah, I'm talking
without them actually announcing this, Nintendo Direct is the Nintendo E3 conference now.
Yeah, but I'm talking like main E3 show conference, the ones that, you know,
But
Sony
they're
and
not doing
Microsoft
them
go to.
anymore.
Yeah, I know. That's the
They're
point.
actual conferences? So you're asking if they did them in the past?
Yeah.
I believe Ruby and Sapphire made it.
Yep. Okay.
That would have been it. But I think they were more of a show floor thing.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and move on into the next story here, which I'm going to go ahead and double your Prozac dosage, Aldo, because this is not a fun story to go through. And in fact, that's been kind of a part of your week, because I've seen you reach out on Facebook to a couple of people that you worked with. So unfortunately, Disney has canceled not Disney, but EA has canceled Disney Infinity.
It's Disney.
Not EA, it's Disney.
EA, it's Disney.
It's Disney?
Yeah,
Why
EA has nothing to do with this.
Why would you think it's EA?
Isn't Avalanche EA's?
No,
studio?
why would you
No.
think that?
Okay.
No.
Well, my bad. Sorry.
Yeah, lay off the
that
Prozac. I'm gonna punch your sources in the face, damn it.
Okay, all right. Well, at least we have some consistency. So Disney Infinity is getting canceled. Now, I actually did have a listener reach out saying, does that mean it's over? No, that's not the case.
Yes.
There are a couple of updates that are going to happen. I know one of them is Alice, and Through the Looking Glass, and I can't remember what the other one was.
So
Finding Dory.
Yeah,
Finding
so
Dory.
they're gonna release 3 characters from the new Alice, which oh god, this unverified sources say it's Alice, Mad Hatter, and Sacha Baron Cohen's character from the movie.
Yeah,
and then it's those are just the characters. Hold on, let me finish.
Okay, sorry.
And those are just the characters, and then next month we're supposed to be getting a full playset of Finding Dory.
Okay.
So that includes like levels and the 2 characters, I think.
But you'll be able to confirm this, Aldo. It's not like you log into or you turn on your Disney Infinity and you just can't play on it.
Right.
You'll be able to play on it. You'll be able to do stuff with the existing playsets, but they're just not going to make any more.
Yeah, I'm assuming the servers will stay up for a while. I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know how long they'll stay up. I don't know who actually runs them. If it's Disney in California or if it's I don't think it's Avalanche in Utah.
No, it's Disney. Because I do know that they're from other articles saying that they were California-based servers.
Yeah. Okay.
So in a lot of cases, I would actually dare say probably 2-3 years at the very least. Maybe 5 at the most, and then the agreements will probably be nullified, and you just can't play online anymore.
Yeah.
So obviously this is a sad thing for you, Aldo, because you are a big Disney Infinity fan. In fact, you worked on it. And so that's the other part that makes this very sad, is because Avalanche Software, which was actually based locally to us, is shutting down, and its 300 people are going to lose their jobs.
Yes.
Now, can you actually confirm, did Avalanche go through the process of trying to recommend them to other places, or even say that they were going to be, they'll give a good mention on the resume or something?
So I don't know about that. I'm assuming they would, because most of the higher ups at Disney, at least the ones I met, were at Avalanche, were fantastic individuals.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as did they start recommending them to places or anything like that? No, because they did not know until that day what was happening.
Did any of the
Nobody
I wonder
had
if any of the Disney employees have been moved to other places?
No.
Okay.
No, because that's part of the bigger story is that Disney is shutting down its entire Disney Interactive branch, meaning they're not going to be making any games in-house anymore. Instead, they're going to be licensing out because of the comparison of income and money spent to make Battlefront compared to Disney Infinity, because they had to put in zero money to make Battlefront. Their income from it was extremely higher than Infinity, where they had to put in money in order to get some money.
Okay, I may actually add something to the story because somebody actually did want Aldo's opinion on the Respawn Entertainment Star Wars game, and so you've kind of opened the window there, Aldo. But we'll get to that in a second. So obviously my thoughts are I hate hearing studios closing down, especially local ones, because I mean, first of all, it's 300 people losing their jobs, and second of all, I like the idea of having Avalanche out here. I know that there is an EA studio here. I just don't remember. I don't think there's an actual team here. It's more additional work.
It's primarily Maxis. That's
no,
kind
it's
of
not
EA
even.
brand.
It's not even that. Max is not in the Salt Lake studio anymore. They're just mobile gaming. It's just mobile EA. They worked on EA Blitz. They worked on like Tetris Blitz or whatever their mobile version was.
And I know that back in the day there used to be a lot of developers around here. For example, the people who made I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but the people who made the Super Star Wars games were based out of here. And it's always sad to hear studios closing down, including studios that are making some awesome content. I'm not a Disney Infinity fan, but holy crap, Aldo has made that sales pitch so many times. Even though there may not be additional stuff, I may just pick it up. I may just pick it up for my daughter and just play it.
Honestly, if you ever wanted to pick it up, as depressing as it is right now, is the perfect time because everything's on sale. Because part of the whole problem with Disney Infinity was the overabundance, almost gluttonous amount of overproduction of the toys that were made. So a lot of places, especially Toys R Us, still have pretty much a maxed out stock on everything from Infinity 1, 2, and 3.
That's one of the things that I find interesting is that Infinity is like if you go to a Walmart or you go to a Target, Infinity is the one that has like the most stuff out on the shelf. Skylanders has enough, but not by any stretch. And then you go to the Amiibos and they're limited.
Yeah.
So at that point, that does make me wonder what's going to happen to all of that excess.
Clearance aisle.
Yeah, clearance aisle or Walmart and Target just won't sell it.
Well, it'll probably be clearance aisle for a little while until all the scalpers grab it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, on that note, I've actually, you guys can't see it, but actually, you guys can kind of see it up there.
Yeah,
vaguely. So I have this whole thing set up in my office where I display all my Infinity figures, and I'm missing 6 figures out of the 3 generations. So
nice.
It's quite a bit, yeah.
So yeah, this is definitely a sad concept. Obviously, I've been seeing you reach out, Aldo, to a lot of your former coworkers to help them try and find work. But obviously, you're kind of distraught by this because you play a lot of Disney Infinity. In fact, you spent a lot of time testing PS4 version. So this is definitely a sad step. Yeah. It actually did make me kind of reach out and go. Because I don't know the numbers for Skylanders, and we still haven't heard whether or not the NX is going to have Amiibo functionality.
It probably will.
It probably will, but I'm actually kind of wondering if, like, with Skylanders, I don't know how well its numbers are, but if it was low enough, I wonder if that was kind of what pushed Disney aside from they don't want to make games anymore.
No, it was honestly just that they realized they could make more money licensing than in-house.
Yeah,
that's honestly it.
Does that mean we're going to have another E3 where instead of a field trip to Skywalker Ranch, it's going to be a field trip to the Walt Disney Studios?
Oh God, I hope they go to like Walt Disney's graveyard.
You can't do that. You can't do that, although because the cryo chamber's there.
We really wanted to capture the essence, so we sent our employees to go and smell the corpse of Walter Disney.
I was actually going to say, wouldn't the perfect tour for that have been like Epic Mickey, for how dark that game turned out? It's like, this is the Disney graveyard, where all of the cartoon characters we've ever made go to die. And now that I've depressed the entire audience, Alex, your thoughts on Disney Infinity shutting down?
I don't have as much of a stake in this. I've never played Disney Infinity. It's depressing, and it's the nature of this business, man. It kind of sucks sometimes. It seems like one day people have jobs, and well, just as soon the next, they're done. They're gone. It's over.
I'd actually like to know if some of those developers are going to go indie. I'd just be curious on it.
Probably so. I'm sure there'll be a few that'll go indie. Others will just go on to other things, other projects. It always seems like people just work project to project when it comes to gaming. And I mean, I've said it so many times with you, Adam. I'm just like, I'm really surprised because, it's Disney. I figured anything Disney sells, but apparently not.
Well,
I guess they just weren't making enough
Disney
money.
Interactive has always been a fickle branch.
Yeah.
Because this is not the first time they've been brought up. I know that they've been shut down at least one other time other than this, and then they got brought back after, I want to say Kingdom Hearts' popularity surged them back, but I don't know if that's the case. And so Disney has always been very fickle when it comes to interactive development. I'm not surprised by this, but at the same time, I'm also not surprised at them going, well, it is cheaper to let the other development company do all the legwork, do all the money here, and then we gain from it. Yeah, I know that personally. Oh crap! Go ahead, Romney, because I'm trying to remember his name.
Well, it's because I know they've done it in the past by handing things off to companies like Capcom back in the Nintendo and Super Nintendo days with a lot of those games. And so I can even see Disney's like, well, it's been a much better track record when we hand things off to Square, hand things off to Capcom, so on and so forth. I'm so worried that EA might just go.
Oh, they will. They will. I mean, they already made Star Wars jokes in Civil War, so I mean, they're going to go ahead and make as many Star Wars jokes as they want. Tim Schafer was the one I was remembering because in order for him to get the licenses that he wanted, and he was able to get Day of the Tentacle and one other, he had to basically rig the deal for it to be more 100% more beneficial to Disney than it was to him, to be able to get these LucasArts properties that they weren't going to do anything with. And nobody was vying for them, nobody was bidding for them other than Tim Schafer. So that's just how they go. But really quick though, we have like I said, we didn't need to get into this. A listener actually wanted to know, since you were the one who played Titanfall, Aldo, what do you think of Respawn Entertainment getting a third-person Star Wars game?
Oh man, if I could summon an AT-AT in the middle of a battle and just wreck shit, that'd be awesome. But it's probably what's not going to happen because I'm not going to have parkour stormtroopers, as awesome as that would sound.
I was trying to remember. Did you end up liking Titanfall? I remember at one point you came in one day and you liked it, and then another day you were disappointed by it.
So I like it a lot. And when it does its Titanfall thing, it's really cool when you're doing the whole mech battles and doing the parkour stuff, and it feels a little Attack on Titan because you can also take down the giant mechs as a little person.
Yeah.
My problem was a lot of it just ended up feeling very Call of Duty-ish, and by the time I jumped on it, the servers were essentially dead.
Yeah.
So
that's the sad part there. Okay, well, unless we have any additional details to add here, it is sad that Disney is canceling Infinity. They're shutting down Avalanche Software in favor of not having to spend any more money trying to make games, but it's their call.
Yeah.
So unless we have any
former staff members of Avalanche, we hope you find work in the near future.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it really made me wish there were other development teams that were in Utah so that they could start hiring people and doing job fairs.
Damn, like 20 years of business just gone in an instance. It's just so sad. The studio has been around for 20 years and it's just gone like that.
They made everybody's favorite Dragon Ball Z game, Dragon Ball Z Sagas.
Did they?
They did. Oh. I cried a little bit when I first got hired and I was walking through and they have a wall where they have all the cover. They have the cover art for all the games they've worked on throughout the years. And as you get to the bottom of the era, they have like Miley Cyrus and Cars and like a couple other Toy Story, like the Disney stuff. Right above that was Dragon Ball Z Sagas, and I was like, ooh, I would not display that.
Yeah, no. Any gamer that walks into your company is immediately going to go, yeah, I don't want to work for the company that made Sagas.
Or more accurately, it's any Dragon Ball Z fan.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the next story here, which is a Sega-based story, and one that some listeners have actually wanted me to report on, because I actually reached out to the creator of the upcoming Shenmue 3 to see whether or not they were going to do any kind of remaster or re-release on PSN or Xbox Live of the first two Shenmue games. And people want to know an update. There is none. I never heard from the guy. He never messaged me or anything like that saying whether or not they were going to do it. But then Alex was able to find this article where they've now said that they are going to investigate the possibility of doing Shenmue 1 and 2 remastered. I'm guessing there would be only digital purchases. They don't really say. I want to say that Shenmue 3 is PS4 exclusive. No, it's PC as well. So it's probably that it would go to Steam too. But that, again, I want to use the term investigating. This is not that they're announcing it. They're trying to figure out whether or not they want to do that, especially since, well, the original Shenmue is, let's see, it was in 2000, I think, when it released here, and then it was 2002, I think, Shenmue 2 went to Xbox. So at that point, we're talking about really old games and really big and complicated games, and whether or not it would be viable for them to do that. Yu Suzuki has since... This article is actually not the most recent. Yu Suzuki and Sega have come out and since said the reasons for the investigating, which is exactly what you would think. They need to know whether or not people would be interested and whether or not people would purchase Shenmue 1 and 2 remastered if they release them, or if people would just go to YouTube or to wherever and look up a guide or a movie of how those games went down. And so, unfortunately, I wish there was more information to give, but not really. This is just an investigation. My opinion is, personally, since I am a fan of the Shenmue games, they should do this. They should release these as a... I'm not necessarily saying a remaster. I'm saying re-release the games. Let them stand for what they are. I'll admit that there are some crappy elements to Shenmue 1 and 2, but let them stand as they are and bring them out to PlayStation Network and Steam, at the very least. I don't think they're going to come out to Xbox anytime soon. But I'm going to open it up to the panel. Aldo, do you have any thoughts on Shenmue 1 and 2 remastered coming out? Whether or not it's a worthwhile endeavor for Sega to do this?
I think it's worthwhile in that all the money that scalpers would get, they would stop getting, and that's money that would go back to the company. Yeah. I think that's money they can use to fund other non-Shenmue-related projects. Or Shenmue-related projects. I think it's honestly just a good idea. I mean, even if you don't do an HD update, just do a port. Just
I think that would be the cheaper endeavor. Is just to port the two. Granted, I understand that Shenmue is a Dreamcast title and Shenmue 2 was an Xbox title, but I'm sure you could take that base code and put it out.
Yeah, I mean at the minimum,
anything, you put it out on PC first, and then at that point you can readapt the code.
Honestly, you could release it to Xbox One and you would probably still make money. I think they should do it. I'm not a big Shenmue fan, so I'm kind of indifferent to it, but I think if Tim Schafer has proven to anybody, and anybody has proven to anybody that makes retro-style games or re-releases their old games, is that there is a market for this.
Yep.
Even if it is marginal, it's still it's some money's better than no money.
Well, I mean, I think you were just mentioning this. The Kickstarter alone proves that there are people interested in this game. I don't think it was just one guy who footed forth $100,000, although there might have been one guy. But there's enough of an audience appeal to be able to bring this to the States. So to do a remaster of it, maybe even include it as a Kickstarter goal, would have been a great idea. But this is just the route that they decided to go. Alex, you're the one that brought the story, and you are obviously paying very much attention to any action that Sega is making right now, because one false move and it could be their undoing. So I want to open it up to you. Your thoughts. Do you think they have it in them right now to do remastered versions of Shenmue 1 and 2?
Well, Sega themselves is a little iffy because we all know Sega's not in the best of straits right now. I can kind of see they're a bit of an impasse because I know the original Shenmue games didn't do particularly well here. Part of that is because it came right at the tail end of the Dreamcast life cycle, and the two seemed to unceremoniously be thrown onto Xbox. But at the same time, you can't deny the record-setting Kickstarter, which unfortunately Kickstarters are great and a lot of money's been raised, but
let me clarify
it doesn't
that.
prove anything until the product is out there and released.
Let me clarify that really quick, because you made it sound like both games were released to the Xbox. That's not the case.
No, I said Dreamcast.
You said Dreamcast.
Shenmue 1 was released as like a movie to Xbox in honor of Shenmue 2, but Shenmue 2 made it to the Dreamcast as well.
Right, he was talking about Shenmue 1 on the tail end of the Dreamcast.
Yeah. Well, 2 as well. It was on the tail end, and PS2, I think at that point PS2 was out and was already kicking the crap out of the Dreamcast. So, I mean, I kind of agree, again, with Aldo. Don't remaster them. Just put out the ports. Although, at one point, Alex, we will need to have you play those games because you complain about horrible dubs. You have not heard a horrible dub until you've heard the Shenmue dubs. They're bad. I love Shenmue. They're bad.
Okay.
So,
well, there you go. There you go, Sega. Put these out. I'll play them.
I mean, like, the Resident Evil dub is horrible, but it's enjoyable. Shenmue's is just bad.
Okay.
Romney, your thoughts on remastering Shenmue 1 and 2?
Honestly, I'm a little bit on the fence because I don't have as much attachment to Shenmue as a lot of other people, and I'm kind of with Alex's skepticism on the whole Kickstarter thing of it more or less being used as a glorified commercial. So I can understand Sega wanting to determine whether or not there actually is a viable market for the release of the Shenmue games, as opposed to simply just releasing movie versions of those first two games in the lead up to Shenmue 3, much like what they did for Shenmue 1 in the lead up to Shenmue 2. And so it's very much a case of all we can really do is wait and see. If they do decide to port it, hopefully they'll have a company that knows what it's doing port it, because we've seen what happens when a company that doesn't know what it's doing tries to port a game. Case in point, Arkham Knight.
Yeah, I know that Yu Suzuki is working on it. I just don't know if this is officially Sega doing the development here, or if he has his own company doing it. I'm not sure here, and unfortunately the article doesn't clarify that. But that's one of the things that they have to consider, is that Shenmue 1 and 2, a lot of people don't realize this, those were huge undertakings for Sega, and they proved to be unfruitful in both markets. Japan didn't embrace these games well either. And so at that point, they have a lot to make up for. A Kickstarter is one thing, but if Shenmue 3 doesn't deliver, it's going to bounce back. And I know that Yu is coming out and or Suzuki-san is coming out and saying, I want to do like all the way up to episode 6 of Shenmue. Well, if 3 doesn't do well, then you're not going to get episode 6. You may not even get episode 4.
Let's hope it's because somebody wants to add in teddy bears.
Yeah. Well, I mean, already I can tell you, like, when he originally wrote Shenmue, it was like a 7-episode arc, and he already had to do what Monolith Soft had to do and take 3 episodes and crunch them into one game, because that's Shenmue 2 in a nutshell. So it's unfortunate, but I know a lot of people are giving crap to the investigation term. I am too, but I'm biased. I want this to come out because I want to be able to play Shenmue 1 and 2 remastered or just ports. But I can see it from their perspective too. Sega cannot afford to put a huge undertaking into these remasters only to have them fail.
Mm-hmm.
So,
the market might be better for them in this case, given the popularity of stuff like Heavy Rain and some of the Quantic Dream games. So maybe the market might be a bit better for a re-release of Shenmue, since we've seen other games that have more or less followed that example to varying degrees of success.
And honestly, if you've played Sleeping Dogs, I mean, I haven't played Shenmue, but from the gameplay I've seen, Sleeping Dogs seems to really channel it, and it did fantastically well.
That's the one where you go, like, your character is going in undercover to the Yakuza or something like that?
No, not the Yakuza.
The Triads. The Triads.
That's right.
It's based in China.
Of course, that's basically part of the True Crime series, though. But point being, because there have been games that have done what Shenmue has tried to do back then, the market may be a bit more favorable, but Sega is not going to want to break the bank in trying to remaster them or even release Shenmue 3, because although the market is somewhat there, it's still a huge undertaking regardless.
Financially, it makes more sense to just port them and allow for people to at least experience them as they were. If that's all our final thoughts, let's go ahead and move into the entertainment portion of this evening. We actually are moving quite fast. That's okay. I have some backup stories here. And the first one, Alex was kind of adamant that we talk about this, and unfortunately the agenda for last week was made. And so we now need to talk about this. Apparently, the next game series that is going to be getting a film adaptation is Slender Man. So people might remember, I think, when did we officially report on it? Early last year, Alex? When the Five Nights movie got announced that it was going to be made. So at this point, this is also now a thing. It looks like Screen Gems, Mythology Entertainment, and Madhouse Entertainment, and It Is No Dream Entertainment are going to be bringing Slender Man to the big screen.
Yeah, although I do want to correct one thing, because it's kind of erroneous to say that Slender Man is a video game-related thing, because the character and the idea of Slender Man existed long before the games that we all saw various Let's Players try to play, because it was very much something that emerged from the bowels of the internet, much like many of the folk tales and horror stories we all know today.
Yeah, I'm only saying that because of exactly as you said it, the popularity that came from the horror game that came out. And I have to admit, I didn't play it. I've seen footage of it, but I've
it's also based on internet myth and legends.
Something that's more or less been contributed to by so many different people over the course of many years.
I think if they take more of a, if they go more with the internet origins of Slender Man rather than the game, I think it could actually make for a pretty decent movie.
Yeah.
Considering the urban myth part of Slender Man that originates from the internet is really cool. But,
it could go one of two ways. Like, on one hand, you could have it go kind of the urban myth sort of aspect of it, but we run into the risk of either going the boogeyman route, where it keeps waffling on whether it's supposed to be supernatural or not, or it could go the Law and Order route, where they basically try tying it to the attempted murder case of the two 12-year-old girls trying to kill their friend as a sacrifice to Slender Man.
Well, another idea that just barely came to me, I may murder the name here. I know you saw it, Romney, but I think it was Unfriended. Since a lot of this is based online, could we actually see like a film adaptation, something along that line?
Are you talking like a found footage styled film?
Well, something that's based entirely kind of online, and like people unlock the Slender Man or whatever.
Well, the thing is, it could work, but much like what I mentioned, the big problem that with Unfriended was that it tried so hard to use a lot of the same imagery and ideas that were tied to the Amanda Todd case. And I'm worried that if they do a Slender Man movie, they're going to do the same thing with that infamous murder case.
And honestly, the whole thing with Slender Man comes from this whole... So the best analogy I can find for it is, you remember how people were looking for and finding pictures of like time travelers, and they would look at pictures of people in the past who were wearing like modern clothing. So they were doing that with Slender Man. That's where this was originating from. It was like a picture of some kids in a playground, and there was Slender Man like in the background, and it was like, ooh, this is creepy. So people started doing that with other photos, and that was the whole deal with Slender Man, was that he was this individual who was just kind of in the background of things. And like it was tied to like urban, quote unquote urban myths that were being made up on the spot for it, about him killing children and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then it goes into the murder case that Ronnie was talking about, and then it goes into the whole game thing. Like it just, honestly, I think the original origins of it, of somebody investigating the Slenderman murders per se, or like they've noticed that Slenderman is in the back of these photos and they're investigating these cases, and it's become more than just a normal police case.
Mm-hmm.
It's supernatural. I think that would work a lot better.
Yeah, one route that they might take, and I don't know if it was Marble Hornets or a different group that did it, where you have it kind of from the perspective of someone who thinks they're being haunted by Slenderman, but then you leave it more or less ambiguous. Is this something that's actually happening to this guy, or is the guy going insane and murdering a bunch of innocent people? And that's what they did with one Slenderman story that I'm not sure if it was Marble Hornets or something else, but something similar where they basically had like a blog or something that someone was updating, explaining how this thing was going after them, and then at the end of the blog, a family member came around saying, you basically convinced this psychotic to go off his medication and he killed 3 people.
Yeah, I could see that kind of working. Investigating the Slenderman murders would be an interesting angle to be able to do it. I don't know.
Thing is, with Slenderman, he's a lot like Cthulhu, where Cthulhu is not just a monster. It's not just a singular thing. Slenderman is very much an ideal, and the closer you get to what Slenderman is, the more the lines between sanity and insanity tend to blur. And that's kind of the idea, is that Slenderman is a lot like a Lovecraftian horror, where you can't just have it be just a monster. It's about the idea and how that slowly drives someone insane.
So that photo I'm sharing right now, that was like one of the original Slenderman photos about the whole thing. So if you look at where my mouse is at, that's where he was photoshopped in.
Yeah, no, I get that concept. It's just I'm sitting here having a difficulty here because I'm trying to think like how would you do a story like that? And yeah, you could do the investigation, you could do like even a paranormal investigation and do a horror movie around it. I just don't know how viable it would be. Like, I get the whole concept that he's the equivalent of a Lovecraftian horror, but there's a reason Lovecraft hasn't necessarily made an official debut in the silver screen, at least to my knowledge. He hasn't.
Yeah, because it's something that's too abstract for most people, and that's what worries me the most, is that it's Hollywood trying to say, hey, this thing is popular, let's make a movie about it, without really understanding what makes it work.
But then again, I also don't, like, again, bringing this back to games, because that's what I know is the Slenderman game. When the Five Nights game was announced, I didn't even know how you would make that work either, because, again, it's lifeless objects that you're trying to give life on the camera, so I don't know how you could make a horrific element to that.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, there's more to Five Nights at Freddy's than there is to Slenderman, because the Five Nights at Freddy's has kind of an internal mythology that you can build on, whereas Slenderman, it's like trying to adapt a folk tale that's been told in so many different ways, so many different times, with so many different changes from person to person. I mean, it's one of those ideas that would be very, very, very easy to get wrong.
I think the problem with Slenderman, and kind of what Rami's getting at, unless I'm wrong, and that's not what he's getting at, is that, like, Five Nights at Freddy's comes from one source, and it comes from established mythos, and it comes from a story.
Yeah.
And other things do this. Like any Stephen King book comes from Stephen King, Edgar Allan Poe. Even Cthulhu has a source, has a set mythology. Slenderman doesn't, because it's more or less of a community thing.
Yeah.
It'd be like, and I think that's kind of what we're getting at, is that's the thing, that there's so many angles, there's so many stories that literally Rami and I could probably spend a day pitching different ways.
Oh, yeah, so there'd be no guarantee that we would even get it right, because that's the nature of Slenderman.
Yeah, so it really sounds to me like we're all kind of in a consensus, like, this might work, but we're just not sure how they would make it work, kind of thing. There's a dozen ways you could go about it, and yeah, we could pitch stuff, but...
Yeah, I think the best way, if I were to pitch something, rather than trying to tell one story, maybe go kind of what they did with Tales from the Dark Side, where rather than trying to make one feature film telling one story, make it an anthology movie, where it's basically just different stories that center around Slenderman that cover all the different bases. I think that's the only real way you could really do it justice and kind of incorporate that feeling of a mythos that everybody contributes to, is to do it as an anthology movie.
Alex, you've been kind of quiet on this matter. Do you have any thoughts on Slenderman getting a film adaptation?
I haven't delved too much into the world of Slenderman. It interests me because last year when I was at Anime Bonsai, my friends did bring along a Slender Man game. Then I played a little bit of it, got to experience the whole Slender Man thing for the first time, and that game had really good atmosphere to it. So I feel like Slender Man. You guys are right though. There's certainly a lot to work with, and because it is kind of a folklore, folk tales, internet folk mythology, and there's so many variants that you can't possibly please everybody. But I do feel like there is something tangible to doing a Slender Man. I do kind of like the whole horror anthology film idea to possibly do multiple stories, multiple takes, but I don't know why I keep almost leaning towards doing this found footage style. I feel like you could do a found footage film out of a Slender Man movie. I'm sure there have been some fan films that have been like that.
Well, there is a Marble Hornets movie that somebody actually went out of their way to make. None of the original people behind Marble Hornets were even involved. This was a fan film that you can actually buy at Walmart now.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sounds to me like the best way would be to do like a found footage, like a Blair Witch kind of thing, and have Slender Man show up.
No, probably. Sorry, I just don't like Blair Witch. I don't think that was a good idea.
Neither do I, but it sounds to me like that's kind of what we're going for here.
And the thing is, it could work, but the idea is that it can't just be people running from a scary monster. It would have to. You'd have to have it be kind of a mystery that only the audience would really see and be able to piece together. It would be something that you couldn't really have the characters be aware of it, because there was this other YouTube channel that did a creepypasta thing. I think it's called like Everyman Fitness or something, where the idea is that you saw these videos this channel uploaded that had a lot of this stuff interspliced, but when the people who are in those videos try watching it, they don't see it. Kind of like when somebody is looking at that dress that was either blue and black or white and gold, where they clearly see it one way and they just don't see the spliced in footage that the audience sees. That would be the best way to do that sort of found footage thing, is that it would have to be a mystery the audience would have to piece together, but not the characters within that story, which may put off a lot of mainstream moviegoers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, this could have a 50-50 kind of implication. It could be done well, but it also could be done very crash and burn. But I guess we'll find out what they actually try to do with it, because they've got the confirmation. They're going to go into development with it, and yeah. So final thoughts before we move to the next story here.
Yeah, watch Concrete Giraffes by Little Karibo. It's a really fun parody of the whole Slender Man.
All right. Well, with that, let's go ahead and move on into the next story here. Now, Romney actually submitted it. I might actually kind of push this over to Romney for the details. But basically, Amazon has come out with an interesting proposition. They are going to be offering animators a new way to make money from online videos. So they're going to be opening up a new service called Amazon Video Direct, which is now going to be in direct competition with sites like YouTube and Vimeo. And I believe they've only reached out to animation deals, but they've also kind of made it sound like that they would be interested in other content creators posting videos via this service and earning royalties based on the hours streamed, as well as being able to rent whatever content that you produce. And so this is an officially live service. This is official, people. It's out. I actually wonder if this is basically what we've been wondering what would happen with Amazon purchasing Twitch, is that this would be their way to start competing with YouTube, Vimeo, Dailymotion, all of that other stuff. But the only thing that confuses me is that this story, another one I've read, is they're not really reaching out to other content creators other than like independent animators.
And it kind of shows, because let me kind of establish some context for people to understand where Amazon currently is at. They have this service called Amazon Video that nobody uses. I mean, a lot of people talk about, oh yeah, but they have all these original series, but let's face it, most Prime users do not use Amazon Video. I am a Prime user, and I don't use it because there's just nothing. But you're in the minority. Most people don't even know it exists. Most people don't use it, and Amazon's basically been trying to claw their way into that glorious, glorious Netflix money.
Yes.
And so that's pretty much been and so this is just yet another push that's kind of spun off of the Amazon Studios thing they've been trying to push, where they get people to write scripts, sell them to Amazon, or they hold like script writing competitions that Amazon then picks up to make their own unique short films. I actually even saw a film recently that was produced by Amazon Studios. I don't remember which one, but it's pretty much a case that this is just an extension of that, where they're basically saying, okay, it may not be working for live action, but well, the animation industry is kind of going down the tubes a little bit, so let's see if maybe we can find the trendy animators that are wanting to take the risks that the larger companies aren't willing to take. But I can't help but feel a little bit cautious about a lot of this in regards to a lot of the fine print you may be expected to sign in order to partner with this service, and that's what worries me the most.
Well, I mean, that's one of those things that we also have to take the risk too. I mean, we all are I believe, although you're partnered up, aren't you? You can monetize videos, or
I monetize them, but I'm not partnered up with anything.
Yeah, so at that point, I mean, you can monetize the videos, but already like that was a risk because you had to look into that and go, oh, well, now we have to actively deal with concepts like Content ID and all of the strikes that could follow and all that fun stuff. And this one is just, from what I've heard, even more complicated. It is like you are actually having to sign full-on legal agreements for your content, and there is actually even some debate whether or not this would yield actual profit for some of these animators who spend a lot of their time doing these movies on their own.
And that's my biggest concern, because a local filmmaker by the name of Richard Dutcher kind of put it best when people asked him about submitting stuff to get on Netflix or through Redbox and stuff like that. And granted, this talk was back when Netflix still sold DVDs and still rented DVDs. And the way he explained it is that a lot of the risk fall if you're an independent producer of both animation and live action, you assume most of the risk. Where if you say want to make your films available to Netflix, you're the one who has to basically pay to print up the DVDs to give to Netflix or to Redbox, so that way they can say, okay, we have copies of this movie available to rent. And there's no guarantee that you're going to see a dime because, well, you're unknown. Most people have never heard of you, and so it's kind of a case of as Richard Dutcher himself even put it, it may not even be worth the risk at that point unless you're a well-known independent filmmaker. And it's the same case here with animation, that it may sound enticing, but you're assuming most of the financial risk here.
Yeah, and including promotions, things like that. It's not like they're agreeing to actually boost your animation on their service. They're not even necessarily agreeing to that. You have to advertise it. And so it's just like you've said, Romney, you have to be a reputable animator for that to even work. And so at that point, it's definitely something that people have to look into. Now, you can get, like I said, you can get these streaming. Some of these will actually be put up and will be able to be bought or rented, so you can use the digital service to watch them however long you want. They'll also be free with they'll be viewable for free with advertisements. Also packed together and offered as an add-on subscription through the Streaming Partners program. It's a very complicated process, and again, I want to emphasize this because a listener actually did bring this up and go, oh, this is another place for people, if you don't like how YouTube's treating you, you could go here. Not the case here. This is not like they're going out to Markiplier and asking him to come and do this service. That's not who they're advertising this to. I even had to go, like, I tried to send in a direct question to Amazon to see, like, who the overall demographic is that they're looking to get into this video direct service, and still haven't heard back yet on it.
Yeah. Honestly, the only few companies that I see that could probably make a decent profit off of this would be a company like Frederator Studios, because then they could say, oh, well, use this Amazon service, so that way we can market some of the shows that aren't like the shows we put on Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, or aren't somehow tied to Penn Board in some way, because apparently that's the only thing that gets popular.
Yeah, I think the best thing that creators like us would actually get, at least as far as I'm concerned, would be if you're a Twitch streamer, and so you actually get that whole concept where if they click the Amazon button right below your stream and actually purchase something, then you get a little bit of revenue from that. And so you'll actually even get like a little listing of what has actually been bought when people clicked at that link below your stream. That's, I think, the most that I think content creators like myself, like Romney, would ever look to get. And again, that's a service only available live. So people do the game guide or your Romney does. That's so unfortunately.
Is Adam cutting out for anybody else but me?
He's cutting out here as well.
Yeah, me too.
Adam,
did we just lose Adam?
Okay.
This is the perfect time for the coup, guys, like we planned.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's stage a coup.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we lost Adam.
Yeah, I think we lost Adam. Unfortunately, we cannot hear him at this time. So, well, I guess since we can't hear him, does anybody have additional thoughts in regards to Amazon's service? I guess.
To be clear, is this service only like reaching out to animation artists?
That's kind of the idea. It seems to be offered to the animation community at large currently. And it seems that it's also part of the Amazon Video on Demand Stars program, which will distribute $1 million every month amongst the 100 most popular video on demand titles in Prime Video. And so it's offered to animations, but it's being in conjunction with their live action arm, with a lot of the stuff they've been doing with Amazon Studios. And yep, we've officially lost Adam. So
oh dear.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So one of the things I was looking at, the article that you posted specifically points out animators, but one of the things I'm seeing right here is that it's not just for animators. Like they're also targeting just the YouTube space initially. Yeah. Like
basically internet content creators. Keep in mind the article we're going off of is from Cartoon Brew, which is known for more or less catering to animations. And
yeah,
I see an Adam, but I cannot hear him.
Am I back? Can people hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quit playing World of Warcraft while you're hosting a podcast.
I can't do that, man. I'm in the beta, damn it.
What? It's a beta for a 10-year-old game. There's really not much beta left.
Well.
We're out of beta. We're releasing on time.
So, what I was trying to say before was just basically a clarification from a lot of the other, or from the listeners that have reached out. This is not necessarily something that YouTube content creators can look into. I think the closest service that they have was the Twitch streaming service and being able to click that lower link. And even then, that's strictly for live streamers. It's not necessarily something that Romney and I could use.
Yeah, so, especially that's the thing with content creation. Although Amazon might try to cater to these sorts of markets, I mean, say they approached me and wanted me to do a Siskel and Ebert sort of show. Even then, the market this is not a saving thing for any YouTubers as people think it is. And the thing that worries me the most is the fine print and whether or not it would actually be profitable, especially if someone is a one-man independent animation team.
Yeah, it's not that viable. Even for independent animators, this is still a very big risk, especially if you're not well known. So in a lot of cases, I even hate to say this because I want to endorse any opportunity that comes your way, but I also want to be able to do it safely, and it doesn't sound to me like this would be safe for any independent animators, at least for the moment. Reputable ones, I think they'll be fine, but that'll be it. So final thoughts before we move on into the next story here? Okay, for a second there I thought I cut out again. Don't do that. Don't do that to me. And I heard that, although I heard that. You want to start the coup. That's okay.
You won't silence me. Power outages won't silence me. You won't silence me.
I'm really trying very hard not to scream tonight, because if I do, my wife will kill me.
I will punch all your sources.
Yes, right in the mouth. So this one actually, the next story that we have came as a surprise to me. I actually hadn't even heard any of this until James Rolfe came out and said it. So I'd heard about the Godzilla resurgence. I hadn't seen the trailer until this week, but I knew that was happening. I did not, however, know that the Gareth Edwards Godzilla had been approved for a sequel, much less talk about Godzilla versus King Kong. And I'm still kind of dumbfounded on that concept, because especially with another additional story that we're going to be talking about with this, to my knowledge, Godzilla was okay financially. It wasn't considered the success. It didn't hit the goals that were expected, but I don't think that merited it to get a sequel. And now we're talking about Godzilla 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
So at that, and not only that, but Gareth Edwards was going to helm it, except no, he's not going to anymore. I don't know if it's strictly because of Rogue One, or he has another project after that, but he is now not the director for Godzilla 2, nor the Godzilla vs. King Kong, which is due, I guess, in 2019. Really? Godzilla? We're going to try Godzilla vs. King Kong again?
Yes. What do you mean
Well,
again? We haven't done this since like 1960 something. Hold on.
But that would qualify that we've done it before.
Well,
We have.
We have.
yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it. I love it.
It was good, Adam. It was good.
I agree with you, Aldo. I think it was good.
Keep in mind, one thing that people tend to be forgetting is that there is a reboot of King Kong in production, and so it only makes sense for them to try to set the stage for what everybody would demand would be Godzilla vs. King Kong, which,
Who's the director for it again? The King Kong reboot?
I am not sure. I just know Warner Brothers is producing Kong Skull Island along with Legendary, but it does not. I don't know if a director has been signed on yet. It's slated to open on March 10th of next year, so if it's not in production now, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know the detail. I know that Tom Hiddleston was cast for it, but I think that's it. The director is Jorgen Vogt Roberts. I don't know who he is. Let me see if I can find him. His filmography for directing. He is apparently rumored for a Metal Gear Solid movie.
So
That thing's in development hell, so I wouldn't trust that.
So Skull Island has Tom Hiddleston as the lead, Brie Larson, Samuel L. Jackson, and John Goodman, and John C. Reilly.
So the most of this guy actually has is pretty much TV. He's got You're the Worst. He's got Mashup. He's got Funny or Die Presents, and Single Dads. Those are the more prominent things. But it looks like this is going to be this guy's first foray into film. Kong Skull Island is what I'm talking about, not Godzilla 2. He's not the director for that, or King Kong versus Godzilla. Okay, so I guess one question that I have here, and people might be able to clarify this, is Toho. I know Toho was involved with Legendary a little bit in the Godzilla film. Are they even involved in these other two?
Probably only in a certain degree, in that they said that, yeah, you can make this movie, but not as directly, especially considering that they're currently focused on the new Godzilla movie being directed by Hideaki Anno at this point.
Back to frickin' Anno.
And Shinji Higuchi, we can't forget him. He's the co-director.
Yeah, so point being, Toho is involved in the sense that they're probably not really financing it. They're probably going to distribute this American film in Japan, and they're basically giving it the go-ahead, but that's pretty much it. And it'll probably just be another thing that the Japanese audiences can make fun of America for again, like in the past.
I'm just kind of surprised we even got approved for this because, I mean, obviously we have Godzilla Resurgence, which means Toho's efforts are going to be there. They're going to be to Resurgence and maybe even the movies that would come out later from that.
Well, yeah, but keep in mind, these films that are being pushed to production are part of a picture deal that was set in stone before Toho even decided to move forward with the new Godzilla movie that they're producing in Japan. And so that's probably just more or less that they're just like, okay, we'll just let the American studio do their thing. I mean, they seem to know what they were doing with that one they previously made that made $500 million worldwide, and that's probably as involved as Toho is probably going to be, especially given that this is going to be Warner Brothers making it and not Legendary going forward.
Is it? So Godzilla 2 and Godzilla vs. King Kong aren't even Legendary?
Nope, because Legendary officially split from Warner Brothers. They're going with Universal.
Warner Brothers. Wow, that's already. I'm already worried about that.
Yeah, that happened around the time that Sugihara became the CEO of Warner Brothers. That's how old that news was that Legendary broke away. Godzilla was kind of the last film in the contract, and then they basically are going their way. Warner Brothers is going theirs. And so, yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that, because now I'm thoroughly convinced those will not be very good. I at least liked what they did with Legendary. But, Alex, do you have any thoughts on Godzilla 2, all of this Godzilla news? Gojira. What do you
Okay. Well, I didn't particularly care for Godzilla 2014, so I guess without Gareth Edwards, I'll see where it goes, if it'll be any better or any worse. Well, I guess we'll see. Still looking forward to Godzilla Resurgence, more out of Japan right now. And I gotta say, I didn't know about the King Kong reboot or the Godzilla vs. King Kong by 2020. That was a new surprise to me, actually.
Yeah, I knew about Kong Skull Island just because of the Tom Hiddleston casting, but that was about it. I hadn't heard anything of what they were going to do with it. It's just strictly a reboot, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Going to the island again and getting King Kong again.
But it's this one they're like Vietnam I think it's during the Vietnam era. So that's kind of the weird thing.
So kind of more like the Jeff Bridges version of King Kong.
Okay, well that sounds at least like something. So, any other final thoughts that we want to get to before we move on to some of the backup stories that we have tonight?
Honestly,
all I need is Ken Watanabe to be looking into the distance with Godzilla and King Kong fighting, and he just sits there with his face against the glass, whispering to himself, "Let them fight.
Let them fight."
Honestly,
I didn't mind him in that movie. I thought he was fine.
How could you mind him? He didn't do anything.
Yeah, he was a fine actor, but again, they wasted him. He didn't do anything.
Yeah, I did not particularly care for Godzilla 2014 either, but you know what? Instead of Godzilla vs. King Kong, you know what I need to see that has been needing to happen for a long time? Godzilla vs. Ultraman. God damn it.
Yes. Too bad Ultraman is not that popular in the United States.
Godzilla vs. Destroyer!
Destroyer! No, that's not going to happen.
I need Power Rangers versus Godzilla. That's what I need.
Technically, we can't do that, although, because eventually we're going to get a Green Ranger, which means the Dragon Zord, and that's a Godzilla ripoff.
The reason why, let me explain. The reason why I want to see Godzilla vs. Ultraman is because they were created by the same person, Eiji Tsuburaya. That's why I want to see a Godzilla vs. Ultraman. Because
I'm not saying it's not cool. I'm just saying it's a shame Ultraman's not more popular in the States, or else we would get that with Hollywood effects.
I would like to point out, however, that everybody here has not even mentioned Jet Jaguar, that we don't even want anything with him. I actually saw an interesting internet rumor that Ken Watanabe's character should eventually become Jet Jaguar.
Thing is, Jet Jaguar, it's pronounced Jet Jaguar, first of all.
Yeah, Jaguar.
Second of all, Jet Jaguar is not like a sentient creature. He's basically just a robot that grows giant. That's all he is. And he was basically...
He is the equivalent of a Megazord in the Godzilla universe. He really is.
Aside from Mecha Godzilla and Mecha Giran and Mecha Mogura,
Mecha Rodan?
How many mechas are there? Jeez.
There's
so many. There's lots. I mean, that's just in the movies. You then also have the Meteor. You have Zone Fighter, which had the Godzilla monsters in it. You have the Chosei Shin series that had a lot of Toho stuff in it. So there's a lot of mecha and a lot of transforming superheroes in the Toho MonsterVerse.
Oh, there are. In fact, I think somebody actually even confirmed to me there's a Mecha Violante, but I've never even seen it.
Well,
honestly, if they could make it into a rubber suit, they filmed it.
Well, honestly, on top of that, there was also, Tokyo, like Godzilla Final Wars Tokyo SOS, that also had, like, transforming superhumans fighting each other, as well as monsters fighting each other. So you know what? Godzilla vs. Ultraman is not the most far-fetched thing in the world.
I'm actually surprised it just hasn't happened in Japan yet.
I'm just surprised that we've given like 6 different ideas for Toho to take on, and Toho will never give us credit for it, ever.
Or probably ever watch us, so I mean, there's that too.
Well, yeah. I mean, we could technically bribe them and say, well, at least could you give a ticket to Aldo so he can ride the Anno train.
I want to get on the Hideaki Anno hype train. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
The hype train is real.
To actually answer the question, though, the reason Toho won't do a lot of it is just because legal stuff. Mainly because with Ultraman, Tsuburaya Productions has control, not Toho. With Zone Fighter, most people don't know about Zone Fighter. The Chosei Shin series never made a dent because it got its butt kicked by the long-running Super Sentai series, and we've dwelled on this topic for a lot longer than we probably intended to.
Yes, and I've been trying to find a way off of it, but I just can't do it because then you guys bring up even more Godzilla movies, and I want to know more. So.
Well, we got to stretch. We still got half an hour left.
I think
we do, yes. So this is actually going to be a contradiction tonight. We actually got through all of the stories in a fairly quick manner, but thankfully I do have some backup stories that we can get into. So let's go ahead and get started with those. One of the stories was a listener suggestion, and they wanted us to talk about the revamping of the Tower of Terror. So Disney loves the Marvel Universe right now. They love the popularity that it is given right now, and I never thought I would see Disney do this. Well, no, you know what? I'd be lying on that one because they have already. And so the Tower of Terror, if you love that ride in the Disney parks, is actually going away. At least its themes are going away in favor of a theme more towards Guardians of the Galaxy. For this, the pillow comes out. The pillow has returned, people.
Enough of the Marvel bullshit already, Disney! I am fucking sick of it!
I didn't hear, enough of the what BS?
Enough of the Marvel bullshit! Yes. Enough of the Marvel bullshit!
I don't see what the problem is.
I don't see a problem either, aside from it's one of those things where I complain about the Back to the Future ride that Universal changed to a Simpsons ride. I didn't like that just because I like the Back to the Future ride. And if they were going to do it, they could have put a lot more effort into it than they actually did, which was repurposing the Back to the Future ride to be a Simpsons ride. So at that point, that's my only issue with it. I understand from both angles. People want to keep the Tower of Terror because of the attraction that it is, but also wouldn't mind a Guardians of the Galaxy themed ride. From
what I understand, I don't have the article up with me right now, but they're kind of keeping the same ride mechanics, but they're just reformatting the theme. That's some passable. I loved the Tower of Terror ride when I went to Disney Florida years ago, but it is a little strange because the Twilight Zone doesn't really particularly fit the whole Disney motif, I gotta say.
No, it's the Haunted Mansion is still one of those things that is expected for Disneyland to keep, although I have heard talk they are looking to repurpose that too. But the Tower of Terror is another one of those horror-themed ones that people don't want to see go away. I'm just a little shocked that it's a Marvel reason that they're doing it. I mean, right now, wouldn't you build up on the Star Wars hype and redo it that way?
But Star Wars already has enough stuff, honestly.
Oh yeah, that's right, because they're redoing Star Tours, aren't they? And then they're getting that whole new area.
And honestly,
and Space Mountain is Hyperspace Mountain now.
My biggest surprise was why don't they do Spider-Man? Like that's my thing, because I think Spider-Man's a much more known family
Makes a lot more sense, actually.
I mean, I'm fine with Guardians of the Galaxy. It's still my favorite Marvel movie. So for me, I mean, that's fine.
Better idea. Instead of trying to tie Guardians of the Galaxy, just call it the Stark Tower of Terror. I mean, you pretty much all you have to do is just say, "Oh, it's just an event. It's just an Avengers battle, and you happen to be in the Stark Tower elevator when it broke out." There you go. There you go.
It's because of the Hulk that we're all being thrown down to the ground.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Or Ultron.
Or Ultron, yeah.
The Hulk, Ultron, Thanos. Point being, that at least sets the stage better than, it's like a space elevator with the Guardians of the Galaxy characters.
Okay, Romany's going to hate me for a second here, but I have to get into your thoughts. You have not actually seen these parks.
I haven't. I'm just...
This is probably one of those things you look forward to if you ever actually did go there.
It is, and that's why I'm just kind of frustrated, because it's just like, Star Wars, Marvel, and I'm just like, come on, Disney. Just make a frickin' Marvel theme park. I mean, yeah, I know Universal is going to fight you tooth and nail for it, like they have in Orlando, but just for crying out loud, because they've been getting rid of a lot of classic rides and a lot of classic attractions for a lot of this Star Wars and Marvel bullshit, and it's getting ridiculous.
Well, and Universal's been doing it for all of the other attractions that they have. So, for example, I know that the King Kong ride was replaced with Transformers stuff.
You want to know the most frustrating thing? They got rid of the 2-scale recreation of the Paris Opera House that was actually used in the multiple versions of Phantom of the Opera for the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. That is literally a piece of history that they destroyed for the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, because Harry Potter.
I like Harry Potter more than
I like Harry Potter, but that's terrible.
Okay, people are going to have to clarify this for me. Is this the first time where we've actually had Romney go off on a ranting tear?
Not the first time. This is just the first time where it's actually coming from a place of actual anger and frustration.
I don't know if I want to stop it.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's the frustrating thing, because Disney is basically systematically erasing its own history by updating a lot of these attractions just because, oh, we've got the Marvel properties, oh, we've got the Star Wars properties, that they're basically, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if after a amount of time they get rid of Pirates of the Caribbean or Haunted Mansion or the Magic Railroad or whatever the hell it's called.
It's you know what the weird thing is for me, because Rami and I are coming from totally different places, because all those things he just mentioned, I'm looking forward to those. I'm looking to all those getting rid of and updated. But I don't know why it's not coming out of a place of ill will. I mean, that's great. Those places they're iconic. They're things. But for some reason, when you tell me we're updating this, I'm like, hell yes. And it's so weird, because I promise I'm not trying to antagonize Romney, but I think it's funny how Romney.
That's the first place you go, Aldo.
I know, I'm sorry. It's just this thing where Romney and I are coming in from totally different places, because I also have not been to Disney World in Orlando. I went to the one in California long ago, and it's fine. It was a theme park, I guess. So for me, it's just like, okay, that's fine. Give me something new and cool with laser beams and smoke effects.
I don't necessarily have that problem as long as it's not done in a lazy fashion. Like, again, my example is the Back to the Future ride. I felt that was done in a very lazy fashion, because they literally didn't want to have to get rid of the cars or anything like that. They wanted to keep some of those assets. And Universal is, Romney's going off on a tear about Disney, but Universal's been doing this for years now, where they're trying to get rid of rides like King Kong, Earthquake. Earthquake got replaced by the Mummy. The next one I think on the chopping block is Jaws.
Yeah, and again, it's equally as dumb, and that's what frustrates me the most about a lot of this whole thing of getting rid of pieces of pop culture history. And that's what frustrates me the most about a lot of this. I mean, especially the bullshit Universal has done with their parks. And that's why I'm just agitated with this, because it feels hollow. It lacks kind of that charm, that actual enthusiasm that was behind a lot of these original attractions, both at Universal and at the Disney parks. They're just getting rid of these pieces of history that almost became icons in and of themselves.
Not only getting rid of them, but then they'll put these tiny little remnants in those rides, which just are kind of insulting in a lot of ways. Like, for example, the Simpsons ride, they have a Doc Brown reference in it, and it just feels insulting after you're on the ride and go, oh, this is just ripping off this ride. And I know that Disney has done this with, it's not any of the Star Wars stuff. They repurposed a lot of Tomorrowland, specifically Innoventions, and made that basically a booth for Disney Interactive. That's probably going to go away now.
Yeah.
But then they actually did have like one exhibit left as kind of an insult to the people who were looking forward to going to Innoventions just to see all of the interesting stuff they came up with. It was basically supposed to be like going to the World's Fair back in the day, but now you can't do that. And then they basically repurposed it all for Disney Interactive, and yeah, that's going to go away now. I feel kind of sad about that now.
Yeah, I hope that, and I'm very afraid that Disney will pull this crap, because, they've already been pulling it already, or they'll get rid of the section where they have the actual, animation class, where they show you, here's how we drew all of the cartoons. I'm very afraid that that's going to be on the chopping block, and I wouldn't put it past Disney. I wouldn't put it past them.
Nope. So final thoughts on the Tower of Terror getting repurposed to Guardians of the Galaxy, unless... I know Romney has plenty of other thoughts.
I'm plenty fine with it. That's
I'm all ranted out. I unleashed most of it, I think.
All right. So
if you find any dead animals lying in the road, well, you know where I ended up.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll at least know that. So the next story that we have tonight was actually, again, brought in by a listener, and a listener specifically that wanted this towards Aldo. Not sure why, because I think all of the times that he's talked about this have been fairly negative. But we got the confirmation story that, unfortunately, Project Spark, which is kind of the custom level design thing for the Xbox One, is officially shut down.
This is one of those things where I was more happy about it than I should be.
You're happy about the shutdown?
Yes,
Yes.
Project Spark was crap. It was ripping off It was ripping off what was popular, and then they
Yes.
were throwing salt on the wound with this whole Conquer acquisition. It was bullshit. It was
That was the
stupid.
worst
It
decision they
was
could possibly make.
it was bad. I'm happy it shut down.
Yeah, so I hate to say this, people, but if you're expecting love to be had here, Project Spark, I kind of agree with you, although it was a very tacked-on idea trying to capitalize on I want to say all of the custom level design games there. So Minecraft, Disney Infinity, Skylanders. I guess Skylanders lets you create levels, doesn't it?
No.
I know it's got the customizable characters.
No, it doesn't let you.
Okay, so all of these things is what Project Spark was trying to count on, and then even after that point, they trolled Rare fans by basically putting in this minor toolkit that you could use with Conquer in it.
Yeah, which was.
And a lot of people took that as an actual Conquer trailer, and it wasn't. And so at this point, I'm actually kind of... I can't even believe I'm saying this because I hate it when studios shut down or when games shut down, but yeah, this just had to happen. It was not a good idea from conception, and I don't even think a whole lot of people played it. I don't know the actual numbers here, but I don't think a whole lot of people played this one. I think they went back to the other places like Minecraft. I think Mario Maker has more of an audience than this thing ever did.
And that's hilarious because Nintendo treats all their customers like shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Randomly deleting their levels, but look at that. They still have hundreds of users, hundreds and thousands of users.
Well, and even then, I've heard cases where they'll actually accuse the level designers that they put something in there that was offensive and it wasn't in there. One story I heard where somebody tried to make a penis-looking fireball thing, and so they didn't. Like, they didn't even have the fire rings in there at all, and so they were just like, wait, there was something offensive in my level? What? And it's just dumb, the accusation there. But Alex and Romney, do you guys have any thoughts on Project Spark getting shut down at all?
Not really. I don't think I even knew what this thing was, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and in my case, I just didn't really care because, well, I have no interest in buying the Xbox One, so yeah.
I'm still interested what's going on with that supposed pirate MMO they're supposed to be working on.
Rareverse thing. Yeah.
I'm
curious about that too.
I'm on the fence with that game. I really am. I don't even know if Rare's working on it anymore, because I know that a lot of their funding or whatever, their approval was going to be based on their reception, and the reception at E3 wasn't good for that MMO. So I don't know, and I don't know whether or not that's a legitimately good idea that they brought to the table. Rare fans are going to be emailing me tonight.
All 5 of them left.
All 5 of them.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Yeah, especially since most of the big wigs at Rare have since jumped ship.
Yeah. So this was actually not suggested, but I'm actually going to bring it up because I think it's actually a big thing, and we just barely discovered it right before the show aired. We got some other listener suggestions, but I want to bring this up. I don't like bringing up bad news, but this one I think has some importance. We just barely heard the news that DC artist Darwin Cook has passed away at 53. He has passed away due to having a battle with cancer. It doesn't say which cancer that he had. To a lot of people who know Batman Beyond, I know he was an artist on that one. He's also done The New Frontier. I don't know if he did. There's a movie based off of The New Frontier. Yes. I don't know if he did that, but I know that he was involved in the comic at the very least. And so at that point, I'm at least disappointed in this concept because I liked his work on Batman Beyond. And I know people have recommended New Frontier, the movie, to me. I just haven't gotten around to watching it. And I hate to report people going, but I hate to see a good artist go. I've liked his artwork from what he's been able to do.
What did Cook do for Batman Beyond? I don't think he did anything.
He was one of the... or at least the article that I have up here. Let me give you a link, but I think he was one of the animators for it.
All he did was a short based on it for the 75th anniversary.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
I don't think he ever really was involved in the series at all. That was more or less Bruce Timm's baby.
Okay, yeah, it does clarify this. He did an animated short designed to coincide with the 75th anniversary for Batman. I want a Batman Beyond movie. Can I just say that? I don't know why they haven't done it.
You have it. It's called Return of the Joker. It's one of the best Batman movies ever.
I think you mean awesome movie. I want a live action one though. And no, I know the rumors out there. I don't want Keanu involved.
No.
I only want Keanu involved if he's the villain. That's the only way I want him involved.
Who would he be?
Well, Zeta. He would be a good Zeta.
He could be a good Zeta.
He would even be a good Max Powers. Well, he'd be a decent Max Powers.
He would do better as Zeta, because Zeta doesn't emote as much, so...
That's true.
Is that the one that became Blight, or was that the Sun?
Well, Zeta's the android that is an assassin android who then, after encountering Batman, decides he doesn't want to kill anymore.
No, he was bringing up Max Powers. Max Powers was the dad that became Blight, right?
Blight, yeah.
So, Keanu as being Blight. I don't know how on board I am with that concept.
I'm more on board with that than him being Batman.
I wouldn't mind him being the obnoxious son. Who do you bring in for old Batman though? Ben Affleck?
Michael Keaton. That'd be my choice. Michael Keaton. He's of the age that he could pull it off.
You can't do that one though because he's gonna do Marvel.
We don't know who yet, but I know he wouldn't do it, but I personally would love to see Clint Eastwood as old Batman.
Oh my gosh, that is the one pick I wouldn't have guessed. And you know what? It actually kind of works. He could do bitter.
Either him or Liam Neeson, but they'd have to get rid of Liam Neeson's accent, and I don't think that's possible.
Here is some unique content for you tonight, people. Clint Eastwood. Make the petition, man. Clint Eastwood needs to be old Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, then the question is, who would be Terry McGinnis? Because, I mean, it'd be one thing to have the grumpy Bruce, but you need someone who can play the smart alecky Terry McGinnis.
There was a pick a while ago that was going around I liked. He doesn't work now. He's too old.
Just get Andrew Garfield. It'd be perfect.
No.
Yes.
Better idea.
I remember back in the day when a rumor went around that Nicholas Brendon was being considered, and for those who don't know Nicholas Brendon, he was Xander from Buffy. But now he can't do it. He's way too old now. So you can't go that route.
Give me a sec. I think I have an idea of an actor. I just need to confirm his name real quick. I mean, you could probably get somebody like Dylan O'Brien. He would probably do a pretty decent job as Terry McGinnis.
I'd say Tom Holland would be able to do that, but there's no way he's going to cross over.
I don't think he has the edge. I mean, from like the 30 minutes I saw of him, I don't think he has like the edge to be dark. Because Terry McGinnis has to be dark at times.
Yeah.
I don't think Tom Holland has that yet.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I think
Dylan's one of those things I would like to see happen, but I don't know if it ever will.
Well, not for like a long time, and you'd have to get the right filmmaker. I mean, Tim Burton said he's open to doing another superhero film. I think it would be perfect because he could do something with a lot of the cyberpunk sort of stylings. Since he's been trying to get away from the German expressionistic style, that would definitely be a good film for a good world for him to experiment with, especially if he kind of takes a cue from the whole Ridley Scott Blade Runner sort of world that Gotham becomes in that series.
Yeah, true. All right, final thoughts on this before we I love the fact that we were talking about an animator and then we went into a Batman Beyond movie.
Well, technically an illustrator, not an animator.
Yes, an illustrator. So the next story that we have here is also actually Alex was the one that dug this one up. This one is again not really all that relevant to us, and people got mad at me for trying to plug in wrestling as much as I could. But we just barely heard this news that a biopic based off of Andre the Giant is now in the works. I'm trying to think of because I know he did Princess Bride, but I think that was his only film that he ever did.
Pretty much.
So at that point, really, the people who would know him would be from his wrestling career. And it looks like this is a comic deal, or is this a movie thing? I'm not even sure anymore.
It's a movie, but it's like based from a comic.
Yeah, so
there was like a comic biography written about him, and now they're adapting that comic into this movie.
Mm-hmm. So, to people who don't know Andre the Giant's career, it's mostly in wrestling. He bounced from territory to territory and eventually ended up in the WWF at the time. We can't call that anymore. To which he
Dang pandas.
Yeah, right. Dang pandas, man. Where he eventually landed The Princess Bride. He played Fezzik in it. So if you've seen The Princess Bride, the second trial that Carrie Elwes' character has to deal with before he can get
Wesley.
Buttercup.
The character's name is Wesley. You've just angered so many fans.
I wanted to say Carrie Elwes. I like the guy. That's just me.
But Carrie Elwes didn't do anything.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
It was Wesley.
Oh, my apologies. Yeah, the actor's name was Carrie Elwes. Deal with it. Yeah, he's that other guy that you don't actually know is in Porco Rosso because it's a British actor, Carrie Elwes, doing a Texan accent. It's horrible, but it's great.
Well, he does. That's also what he does in Twister.
He was in Twister?
Yeah, he plays the evil tornado chaser in Twister.
I wish you would have stopped.
Watch that again.
Today we're going to make history.
I wish you would have stopped that evil Twister.
Evil Twister.
He was the evil Twister.
He was the evil Twister! And then he went on to play the Sharknado! Something to that extent. So yeah, if... I'm trying to think of a memorable moment for Andre the Giant. It probably would have been when he was the Dread Pirate Roberts and he walked out, I am the Dread Pirate Roberts. We are coming for your soul. So that would be where a lot of people would remember Andre the Giant. And I know that he is beloved in the WWF, obviously, because he was a kind of a gentle soul. I know that they hold something in his honor now. It's like a battle royal or something like that.
By the way, looking at his filmography, it looks like he was in an episode of Zorro in 1991.
I believe it.
Like the Technicolor one?
Yeah, there was a 90s live-action TV series of Zorro.
Oh, I didn't know about that one.
I've seen a few episodes. It's shot like a telenovela. I mean, it has some good moments, and the actor playing Zorro does a really good job, but it very much is the very cheap action sort of show that came out around in the 90s from a lot of different places. It was kind of trying to ride on the thunder of Xena and Hercules, almost.
Yeah.
He was in Conan the Destroyer as Dagoth.
No, that would make sense, though. He'd fit right in the Conan universe.
So, yeah, he's had a few roles outside of wrestling and The Princess Bride here and there, but
yeah,
right,
the most memorable, I think, was Princess Bride. It's the one that he's most beloved for.
Though, I mean, to be fair, his life as a literal giant was actually quite interesting.
Yeah, it's one of those few... I'm not a big fan of the A&E biographies, but the one they did for Andre was really touching to me. Especially since they went into some of the minor details of his relationship with... Oh, he had a relationship with a specific referee at WWF, and I believe the guy just quit right after Andre passed away. He couldn't move on from that. So let's just go ahead and get into our thoughts. I actually think this is a nice concept. It's one of those biopics I would love to go see of Andre. I don't know who on earth if you were going to do a movie adaptation, who you would get to play him, because giant actors are hard to come by.
Yeah.
And in some cases, they're not in good shape themselves.
Would you say that those are some pretty big shoes to fill?
I would indeed.
Honestly, the closest I could think of, and it would be a long shot because he's the only large actor who's still in shape, and that would have to be someone like Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah.
Luke could probably do it. What I'm really worried is that WWF would chime in and say, no, we've got another giant, let's go do that. And unfortunately, I think his real name is Paul White. He doesn't really have a great acting resume. I know he's got Knucklehead, but that's it. Like, he's pretty much their film division's. That's the only movies he's ever gotten.
Frankly, I think they're going to have to probably just cast a standard actor and use a lot of camera tricks and CGI to enhance it, because
Andy Serkis. There's the best person. Andy Serkis. Just do it all in CGI and have Andy Serkis play Andre the Giant.
Why do we keep on wanting nothing but CG roles for Andy, man? Can we just give him a legit role?
Hey, CG roles are legit roles. CG roles are legit.
I'm not giving crap to that. I love love the concept, but I do know Andy's personal preference here. He wants to be on camera.
So sounds like you are giving no. You just killed the whole CGI fan base. Nope.
I love the Gollum voice. I do it all the time. I actually am one of the few people that didn't hate Supreme Leader Snoke. And I look forward to him coming back as...
I don't know how you could hate him when he was on screen for 10 minutes.
Who hated Snoke? I didn't have any problems with him.
There's a lot of hatred towards Snoke, because...
Those people are probably...
And most of it's just towards the communication, is like, how on earth could they actually see him because they were standing in front of the projector? He was way too big for life. I love the fact that people are going into Rogue One hating it because there's rumors that it will go into the origin of Snoke.
Really, people are complaining about a giant hologram in a movie about tiny puppet creatures with laser swords, and they use the magic. They use the magic
people that got mad that
penetrate you.
These are the same people that also got mad that Phasma wasn't utilized properly.
These are the people
that's a legitimate complaint, because that's an interesting character that was kind of shafted.
Kind of like the other interesting character, Boba Fett. Full circle.
Wow, this has been kind of a random night, people. Final thoughts on Andre the Giant biopic before we wrap things up for the evening.
Yeah,
I'll see it.
See the movie.
I mean, I'd definitely be curious about it, because, I mean, we have a lot of wrestling documentaries and stories that are basically the tragedies, very destructive. I mean, there's the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior. There's been a lot of, like, the documentaries. Basically, it would be nice to see something a bit more optimistic about a wrestler, given kind of the life he led. And so, I'd be curious to see it.
Yep. And, Alex, you said you wanted to see it, or you didn't want to see it?
I want to see it.
Yeah, I would actually not mind seeing it at all. Aldo, your thoughts on Andre the Giant?
It'd be fine. I'd be curious to see how they paint his the fact that he was constantly drinking alcohol and how much alcohol he had to drink. That's the part I would be most interested in seeing them cover, because he did have to drink a lot of alcohol in order to help deal with the constant pain he was in from his various ailments. Yeah. Yep. So honestly, I'd be interested just to see how they paint that particular light, because you kind of enter a gray area where you're like, well, typically we can't show alcoholism as a good thing, but in Andre's life, it kind of was a good thing. It was a necessary evil, per se.
Yeah, it really was.
So I'd be interested in seeing them tackle that particular subject.
Well, yeah, and I mean, there's some opportunities for comedy, because there was the case where he had drank so much alcohol that he passed out. And it was like at a hotel in the lobby, and like all the employees had to like try to lift him, and they couldn't, so they just had to leave him in the lobby overnight until he woke up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I still remember like seeing pictures of him holding like a little can of beer, and man, his hands were huge. I mean, he could literally hold that can of beer with just these fingers. And this was what he had to do, especially like going onto airports and things like that. I think at one point he actually got pulled off of a plane because of intoxication, and it was a big deal, because that was really the only way he could ever deal with I think it's called acromegaly, gigantism roughly. And this was before people start sending me the question. This was before. I know that there's I guess a procedure now that they can tackle it, but this was before that time. He was a casualty of it. So,
9/11 changed a lot of things, people.
Yep. So let's go ahead and wrap things up for the evening. Wow, we had to go into a couple of backup stories. I'm glad I had them, because I didn't realize. I thought Nintendo would get us ranting. I thought Disney Infinity would start Aldo off on a rant, and that's what happens. So.
Well, yeah, the only rant you got was about theme parks.
Yeah, that was the unexpected one. And the funniest thing was, we got a double rant because Aldo went out against you. So
I mean, I didn't rant against him. I just pointed out that I thought it was interesting, because Rami and I usually find a middle ground, and this time there was no middle ground.
There apparently was not.
That was a DMZ zone, and that was it.
All right, so Aldo, if people want to get a hold of you to see the content that you produce on your channel or in other forms of media, how do they get a hold of you to do that?
You can find me on YouTube at boardofline.net. You can also find me on Twitter at boardthresh. You can also find me on slcnerd.com. You can also find me on Reviews versus the World, also Reviews versus the Podcast on iTunes and Podomatic. And I did just release a review for Enter the Gungeon. Enter the Gungeon.
I was actually going to ask you, did you ever do the DMC thing that you were advertising?
Nope, that's still getting worked out. I'm just not happy with it. I just gotta figure. Not the game. I love the game. I'm just not happy with the content. I need to figure something out.
I think I can understand most of my reviews. Like I felt like I could have done even more on them and gone into even more detail, and yet I didn't. Alex, if people want to get a hold of you, how do they do that for the various opinions that you've had, and also for the content that you produce?
Well, of course, you can always find me here on YouTube. My channel is ShadowBlazer3000, and as my little tagline for a change suggests, at Twitter at AlexJShort. Also, one brief thing we forgot to mention in the Andre the Giant story, the daughter of Andre actually is really gunning for Joss Whedon to direct the film, so here's hoping she gets here's hoping she can get that wish.
That'd be cool.
Well, I would recommend that she go out to the cabin in the woods that he is locally residing in, because that's what he's had to do. I don't know if that's true. People don't send me email on that, but I mean, the way he talked about how he didn't want to do any more films for a while, I'm just guessing that's what he did. He went off to a cabin in the woods somewhere. Romney, if people want to get a hold of you for the content that you produce, how do they do that?
Well, you can always find me here on YouTube at youtube.com/StudioGhostUtah. You can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Romney'sReviews. And you can also find me on Twitter at RomneyReviews. And for this week's recommendation of Romney's Listening Club, yes, Listening Club, I recommend the musical Hamilton by Lin-Manuel Miranda. It is an amazing musical. I'm really excited for when it eventually comes to Utah. That's been my obsession, so that's my recommendation for this week, is the soundtrack to Hamilton.
All right, and so just a really quick thing for all three of these wonderful gentlemen, because their content is going to be going up on the Geek News thread, and you guys can look that up on Facebook. I have watched the Into the Gungeon review from Aldo. I really appreciated it. I thought he hit it really well. In fact, it made me want to go play more Into the Gungeon right after. So with that, and then also your Shirobako review just barely went up this week, Alex, right?
Right.
So people can look forward to that, as well as an interesting cameo that I was reluctant to do, because this is literally how this happened, people. He walked in while we were doing the Civil War review and said, "Oh, by the way, I want you to do some unscripted promos for this review." He didn't even tell me what it was for. He's like, "I just want you to rant about Anno."
It's my running gag basically on this on my channel. Is anytime I mention Anno, you go off into a tirade.
But no, the best part was like he was just basically like, "It's about Anno, go nuts." And so I don't know if he's going to use all of the takes that we got, but they were so random. Like I literally had to come up with them off the top of my head. So you guys can look forward to that. And Romney actually had an interesting announcement over the last week or so. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go to the channel for that. Basically why he was not going to go to the Civil War review. And I was trying to remember the most recent one that you just put up, because it was a film I had not heard of and actually got me a little interested. I think it was April in the Extraordinary World.
Yep,
So,
and I did most recently put a review up today for the film Doe.
Yes, that is also up on his channel.
Yeah.
So
both films can be current.
Go ahead.
Yeah, both films are currently available through the Salt Lake Film Society at the Broadway Center Cinemas. There's my plug.
So, at that point, since I've said that this is also going to go up on the social networking, if people want to get a hold of me directly really quick, there are two ways to do it. One is my YouTube channel, Drac2326. I know my lower third doesn't work tonight. I've got a little bug. So, unfortunately, if you guys want to go see all the content that I provide, it's on youtube.com/Drac2326. That is where Geek News is hosted. All of the episodes are there. You can look forward to stuff not just from this week, but also from all the way back in 2014. I think that's as far as our archive goes back. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do so under the exact same handle, Drac2326. And I will probably respond to you. I have to admit I kind of suck at Twitter, but I try very hard to make it work. If you want to get a hold of the show directly and all of the various things we do, first of all, there are 4 ways to do it. The first 2 are in social networking. You can follow our Twitter at GeekyNRO, and you can also go to the Facebook page, look up Geek News, Reviews, and Opinions, and like it, and you'll get up-to-the-minute information for both of those when we're going live, the stories that we're going to be covering, the hashtags that are going to be involved, and also the various other pieces of content that all of us produce. And also you can go to, if you want to suggest a story or give feedback on the stories that we did cover, you can leave us an email at geekyweek@gmail.com. And also, as a summer promotion, I made it aware on my channel, but we are going to be getting together individually to kind of advertise the panelists of Geek News as well as our compatriot Brinton. And so what we're also going to be doing is I'm going to be asking questions from you guys directly to them. So you guys can look into their content as well as ask the questions that you've been dying to know about why Romney hates theme parks so much. If you want to know that, just leave the question at geekyweek@gmail.com. And you could also go to Podomatic, and it's geekyweek.podomatic.com. And now we are on Podomatic to get all of these episodes via a podcast RSS feed. We are pretty much up to date except for last week, and that's just because the stars aligned and I set up every appointment possible within 6 months in the exact same week. So appointments, recording sessions, all that stuff, it will be up very soon, I promise. So you guys can look forward to that. And also there is a subscribe to iTunes button on there, so you guys can get the iTunes feed, which will automatically update as soon as we have a new episode out. But in the meantime, that's going to go ahead and do it for us here on Geek News, Reviews, and Opinions. We hope you guys have enjoyed. We continue to love you guys' additional support and the stories that you provide and the opinions that you give to us. And so we are very thankful for that. We will be back next week for even more Geek News, Reviews, and Opinions. So for me, for Aldo, for Alex, and for Romney, we'll see you guys then.